Hi everyone, I'm Adam Cohen. I'm your host. I'm the CEO of Adam Cohen Today Inc. And I'm here today with Frank Torchia of Torch Entertainment. Frank is a great friend of mine. We've known each other for a very long time, and I'm very happy to have you here today, Frank. Thank you for joining us.
Hey Adam, good to see you. Yeah, it's been quite a journey from us from your LA days to now your Miami days. So we got a long history.
I'm like a gypsy. I get around. I've lived absolutely everywhere. England, the US, New York, Miami, DC, Vegas, Los
But are
Angeles,
you
San
allowed to go
Diego.
back to the places you used to live? That's always
Yeah,
the question that we need to ask.
Yeah, it's like it's like you spend every once in a while you go back to where you used to live. Like I went about 2 years ago, I went to with my former neighbor from that building who I'm still very good friends with, where I first lived when I moved to New York. We were there, and it's like that was 26 years ago. So it was like a lifetime ago when I made that big move. I still remember leaving Heathrow Airport and my mother crying, saying, "Go knock 'em dead," and deciding whether or not to take the cat, and which I did, and arriving in New York. But New York for me was like I came from London, and for me it was like to the manor born. New York and I we just blended immediately. It was a great.
And you got to have a certain personality and vibe to make it there. And because you can crumble under the weight, but when you survive, you could then survive anything, as the Frank Sinatra song says.
Yeah, so two things you bring up an interesting point, and then I'm going to get into asking you questions. But
No,
as
hey,
you hit
this
the
is
nail
this
on the
is this is
head,
an
right,
interactive
right,
conversation.
right,
Well, who
right.
knows where we're going to go?
When I was 14 years old, I was very big on listening to Frank Sinatra and watching old black and white movies that were filmed in New York. And I said to myself, I was about 13 or 14. My family and I had lived in the US when I was a child, and I wanted to go back. And I was obsessed with New York in the 1920s, 1930s era. And I remember riding my bicycle one day, listening to the radio, and Frank Sinatra was saying, "If you can make it there, you'll make it." Anyway, I'm sorry for my horrible singing. I apologize. But but it made
That's
me
why you're
want,
in finance and not in music.
yeah, exactly. It made me want to live in New York. It made me, and it was my goal. And I started my first business in London when I was 16. And when I moved to New York, I was 26 years old with 10 years of business behind me. And I thought I was a pretty smart, savvy, sophisticated, confident 26-year-old, used to doing business with some of the best people in British business at the time. And then I get to New York. I was not ready.
You get
But
humbled really quick.
I was humbled very quickly. And I gotta tell you, and I'll tell this to everyone, if you want to learn what it is to do business, go and live in New York for at least 2 years. Because it will take you 1 year to truly understand what you're doing and 1 year to throw some good punches. For me, New York didn't just make a man out of me. I was away from my family. I was away from my comfort zone. I was away from my friends. I had to do or die. And we had September 11th that happened right after that, the following year. And it was a interesting time, and all I can say is it made a man out of me, and it made me the best version of myself. Where I learned to be the Mike Tyson of London and New York in business. Because if you don't know how to put it all on the line, to take a risk, or to be the strongest person in the room, you will not survive in New York. New Yorkers are winners, and I have maximum respect for New Yorkers, and I also say New Yorkers are the best people and they will survive anything. And I consider myself more of a New Yorker than I do a Londoner, as my business has been out of New York, even though I'm in Miami for 25 years. So I consider myself very much a New
We got
Yorker.
to get you a New York accent. You got to say
Yeah, bada
coffee.
bing, right? Bada bing.
Coffee. Get me the coffee. Who's
Coffee
making coffee?
officer.
Get the coffee.
Officer. Officer. So, I
So
have
I
a
got to
big,
get you a dialect coach.
yeah, I have a big love of New York and respect for New York. And if anyone is starting out, if you can't survive in New York, you won't survive. New Yorkers are the strongest and the best in business. And I learned from the best in the UK. I learned from the best in New York. And it prepared me for a future life. And I'm very grateful for that because in university, they don't teach you psychology. They don't teach you how to sink or swim. They don't teach you how to fight for survival. They teach you how to do everything easy, easy, easy. They
It's
don't
all
teach you
it
fun.
is it's the academic side. There's no
Yeah,
real world. Um, yeah, these professors have no real world applications for anything they're trying to teach. I'll tell you a
no,
quick anecdotal
literally nothing.
story. So I was vice president for Jacqueline Fitness Centers back in the day, making a lot of money. I had my bachelor's degree, and I was told I need. I thought, I wanted more letters next to my name, so I'll go get an MBA. So I'm going to Columbia to get my MBA. Now I have 600 employees. I'm making a lot of money. I know how to manage people, and I'm taking a management class. And I'm sitting in the lecture hall, and this guy, he was an idiot. And he didn't pronounce my name right. He called me Mr. Torchia instead of Mr. Torchia. But I let it slide. And he's saying something, and I'm like, you can't do it that way. He goes, well, why do you say that? I said, well, because I have 600 employees right now. And if I did what you just told the class to do, I would be fired and the business would fail. That's not applicable. And he goes, well, if you don't like it, Mr. Torshia, you can leave. And I was paying for school. I said, well, since I'm paying for the class and I know I make more money than you right now, I'm just going to sit here and kind of hear what you have to say.
Yeah,
And I ended up getting a C in the class, my only C I've ever gotten. But the way some of these professors who don't have never run a business, never had to put it on the line like you and I. Uh, and I think today is a little bit, you can have like the Mark Cubans, the Kevin O'Learys. You have some of these business people that actually are teaching young entrepreneurs how to actually do business where you don't need to go into debt, right? I'm a film and
absolutely.
TV guy.
Absolutely. You don't start
I,
business with borrowing money. That's the worst thing to
I,
do.
So I'll give you one more anecdote, and you're right, we're going to go over, so you can do it, I can do it. So one of my Columbia classmates, the guy's name is Art Kim. He's president of U.S. Bank in North America in New York City. He lives in Jersey, and during COVID, his son was in film school at Columbia University. $80,000 a year to send his son to film school. And so we had a couple of conversations. His son's name is Ethan, and kind of giving him some advice and some guidance and whatnot. Well, then COVID happens, and the class that he's taken is kind of like what you and I are doing. It's a Zoom. It's a Zoom. It's a YouTube video. And I said, Art, I said, you're paying $80,000 a year for a YouTube video. I said, I know you're smarter than that because we both went to the same school. That is not smart business.
It is not.
And I said, the best thing you could do while it's shut down, I said, have your son, Ethan, and his classmates go make a little independent short film. Go do something. You got writers, directors, get a camera guy, you edit it together, and I'll help get them through. We'll put them in the film festivals, and that'll be the best learning experience that they'll ever take because they're not going to learn this at the film school. Take the 80 grand or the 40 grand for the semester you're going to pay. You can finance it and just do it. So they ended up going to Kansas. Someone wrote it, someone directed it, someone had the camera, and they got a couple of actors, and they put together this cool little 12-minute short. I got it in all I gave them some help here and there. I put them in touch with some people, some of my editors, and kind of giving them some guidance on what to do. And they won a couple of awards, and it was such a cool experience for them. And they probably learned more from that. They finished, obviously, they now finished film school. And, you don't make money graduating film school. You got to, because it's a tough business. You go in debt $300,000 to make $50,000 a year. The math doesn't work.
It really
So
doesn't. And you bring up two interesting points. I want to kind of like touch on those, okay? So, first of all, don't learn about business from someone who's never been in business. That's the biggest red flag of all. You can't learn from someone who read it in a book. Business is about hands-on experience. If you can't teach from hands-on experience, you shouldn't be teaching business. The second thing is it doesn't matter how many degrees you have in business, how many books you read, how many Mark Cubans you listen to, how many Andrew Tate you listen to, how often, how many times a day you follow Tai Lopez. It doesn't matter any of these things. These are all brilliant people individually, but the thing is that studying, following, reading, listening, and watching doesn't teach you one important skill. Think. The idea of business is people always say, I'm waiting for the right opportunity. I'm waiting for the right deal. I'm waiting for this. There are opportunities everywhere. They are all around you. You just have to be looking, paying attention, and analyzing. Right now, as an example, I'm changing my business model because times have changed. I'm aware of it. I've identified the problem. I've identified the solution. I'm making changes. Like being in business isn't just about following step-by-step guide, how to set up an LLC, how to open a bank account, needing an EIN, creating a website, like getting an Instagram, going on AI and photoshopping your face onto somebody else's picture. All right. Business is about fire. It's about personality. It's about it's who you are. It defines you very much. Everything I always say I don't want to be defined by what I do. But what I do is such a big part of my personality that it's like my inner twin. So it's not who I am, but it's everything about what I do and how I present myself and how I conduct myself, how people perceive me, how I perceive others. And it's some of the things that Andrew Tate says. He's a little bit on the edge, but dressing nicely, presenting yourself well, articulating a point, being strong. All right? Because if you're not ready to take a punch when they come your way and to throw back, you will lose. And I'll tell you something interesting about learning about business. I'm going to tell you how I learned the real estate business. You want to understand how I learned the real estate business in a New York minute? You want to hear? All right.
Is it a
So
New York minute or an Atom minute? Because they're two different.
somewhere in between. Somewhere in between. An Adam minute is still shorter than a Frank minute. So, so it's somewhere in the middle. I'll give you the nutshell, right? So I had sold my mobile phone business in London. I did pretty well on it. I sold it to a public company, and that was I started that business when I was 16 and sold it when I was 21 years old. So you could say it was a home run. I started it from zero and I sold it to a public company for a seven-figure check. So I learned a little thing about running a business. And keep in mind, at one point in the mobile phone business, I employed over 100 people when I was 17 and 18 years old. And no one taught me about business. I learned from the street. Um, anyway, my father had been in the real estate business, and I had decided I will now get into the real estate business. And naturally, I'm in my early 20s. My dad, who was my best friend all my life until he passed, all right, wanted to show me the ropes. But me being me, didn't want to learn it that way. I wanted to learn it my way. So I had friends at the time that were making pretty good money doing rentals. But one thing I learned very quickly is that agent worked for a broker. Most deals were co-broked. So if anything, they were making 25% of the commission. That was the one thing I understood. Right? But apart from that, I knew nothing about how to set up a rental company, where to get listings, how to market it. And literally, I knew this much. You could have written everything I knew on a postage stamp. Okay. So, and had room for illustrations. So what I did, I went to my few friends that were in real estate and I picked their brains. How do you get a listing? Oh, that's amazing. I'm not telling them I'm trying to do it. I'm just curious. All right. Where did you get your clients from? Oh, that's amazing. How much are you making? Oh, that's all right. What do I need to do if I want to apply for an apartment? I'm thinking about looking for an apartment myself. Oh, I need this, and this. And what kind of leases? I just got all in one day. I researched everything I needed to know. I just instinctively I knew the right questions to ask. I was always a very analytical person. I went and I bought a blank format lease and typed it out all nicely. I went and set up to be able to do references. I went through the classified ads and for rent by owner. All right, picked good areas, high market. Refused to work with other brokers, and before you know it, I'm doing direct deals, keeping 100% of the commission, and I was making 5 times what they were making in my first week of business. And my friends were laughing at me. They're laughing at me making 25% in a B market, and I'm making 100% in an A market, and I did it in 1 week. I closed my first deal before the end of my first week in business. And I was like flashing the cash to show them, all right? And within 6 months, they were working for me. They'd already been in the business for 3 years. Right? So it's business is not something that you learn from a book. It's something that's in here. It's in our programming. It's in our DNA. That's
With that
different
said,
from
Adam, a lot of
yeah.
it is the thinking that people go into it. We both have anecdotal stories of
Mm.
life and business, and
Mine are obviously better.
And in a past career, I was president and CEO of ADT Security Systems.
Mhm.
Everyone sees the signs on the
Yeah.
road and whatnot, and in front of
Yeah.
the houses. And we did businesses and we did homes, and we
When
got
you say
into
you
some
did,
other.
you mean you put in the alarms, not rob them, and then install the alarm afterwards?
Well, that was the New York side of it, right? So,
Create the problem, then sell them the solution.
yeah, and you really didn't need the alarm. It was just the sign. You didn't really. I had more people wanting to buy just the sign than the
Yeah, it's a
alarm.
great deterrent.
Uh, But the idea was, when I took over the company, there was a mindset of how many, because we had a big sales team around the country, and I was not happy with the amount of sales everyone was selling each week. And I was vice president of Jack Link Fitness. I started as a manager, and it was all about sales, right, and telling the story. And then if everyone tells the same story, no matter what club, as I managed 9 clubs in New York, I wanted all the salespeople and managers to say the same thing, because I didn't want discrepancies, because I wanted some continuity, right? And I think and I made everyone better. So we kind of memorized. IBM did this many, many years before. You had everyone have a script. And so we kind of had a format on but you make it your own, right? And so I kind of took that to ADT, and when we had our sales meetings, and everyone said, "Oh, we can only sell one a week," and I'm like, "Why?" Well, that's just what we've been doing, because they never saw anyone sell more than that, so they just thought that was
That
what
was
it
the
was
norm.
supposed to be.
Yeah. Yeah. I
So
don't
when
need
you
your
show
business. I want
someone
your business.
Yeah, so when you show someone you can sell 5 a week, 20 a month, and then you look at what your commission check is,
Yeah.
but it's getting that. What you just said is so key, because if they don't see it's possible, they don't think it's possible. But when
No.
they see someone, and we actually put, Tom Hopkins ended up becoming a good friend of mine, the sales guy. Tom Hopkins,
Hmm.
the sales trainer. We ended up doing some sales trainings together, him and I. And we went on tour. I went from city to city, talking to our sales teams with Tom Hopkins, putting together training tapes, and actually doing the work. And here's the president and CEO. I got 10,000 employees, and I'm teaching them how to sell. Teaching them you can sell more than one alarm a week. You know, you're making $200 a week. Okay, what does that do? Why not make $1,000 a week? Why not make $2,000 a week? And so when they saw that someone could actually do it, we broke through. Tyco bought
Yeah.
us for a multiple that was unseen in the business. We ended up also doing dealers. So not only having our employees, I would set up independent companies. Someone would be
Hmm.
basically a licensor of ADT Securities. We
Yeah.
would do the monitoring, but we had 1,100 dealers around the country, all doing the same thing, selling services, because all we wanted to do was get our reoccurring revenue to a point, because we had an exit strategy to
Yeah.
sell. Tyco bought us, and that was the model.
I
But
did
it
the
took
same thing with
one.
the mobile phone business. We went to all the car audio stores all around the country. Remember the old days where you were putting the stereo and the
Yeah.
alarm? We went to all the car audio stores all around the country. I was 16. No one told me how to do this, right? I went to all the car audio stores. I had salespeople, like mostly pretty girls that were fresh out of school, going to these guys, all male-dominated businesses, and saying, our company is a wholesale mobile phone provider. Let's have our product in your showroom, sale or return, high commissions paid, and they were signing up business all day and all night. We went from doing 20 or 30 phones a week to doing 5 to 10,000 phones a week nationwide. We became, in 6 months, when I decided to start expanding the company, the number one wholesaler of mobile phones in England for 3 years in a row. The number one. I outperformed massive public companies because I was just killing it on the sell side. And they just
And
couldn't compete. And they ended up and the solution was buy me out.
but it goes to the message. If if it's like think of the 4 minute mile. And this is,
Yeah.
I've been a fitness guy my entire life, former college football player. And so before someone can anyone did under a 4 minute mile, everyone thought it's impossible. There's no way the human body can do a mile under
Yeah.
4 minutes. The
Yeah.
soon as the first person did it, 12 other people did it that same week.
Yeah.
It's just the mindset that people they see a cap on what you can do. Well, that's all we have the capacity to
I,
do. And until someone like you comes along, or someone like this 4 minute, until someone comes along and says, no, that's not true. You can actually go above and beyond. And then as soon as that happens, everyone sees it's possible, and that's when magic can happen
I,
if you can harness it like you did.
Yeah, I run almost every day, and funny enough, actually, the other day I decided to push myself, and I did a 7.5 minute mile. And although I nailed it, and I was very happy with the result, I hurt my leg doing it and pushed through, and I didn't run for a week. I was like, damn, I was like so much pain after.
Well,
Like, why
there's
did I
certain
do
things
it?
of age,
Yeah,
Adam, as you get as everyone approaches your age, as you're the elder statesman's now. You're not the 21-year-old kid. You're the eldest statesman, and you
yeah.
got to be careful
Well,
getting
I've
out
been
of
running
bed
since I
and
was 11. I
twisting
gotta
your
tell you, I'm
back.
still putting down speeds sometimes that are better than what I was doing when I was 18 and 20, and I'm 52. So it's, because it's mental programming. I've understood the algorithm of my own body and of that I love to run and I like to push myself to get to great speed, great time. I love running, but running is as much, it's an endurance. So, and the same as business. Business is all about endurance. It's about staying power and about winning. And a lot of what you and I are talking about here is the same thing. It's endurance and winning. There's no point enduring if you're not planning on winning. Sometimes you have to endure in order to win. All right. And there's no point being in business if your goal isn't to win. Don't go into business to make X amount of money and be average. If you're going to go into business, excel. Be the best, be the strongest, be the best known, be the first person that someone thinks of when they need something in your industry. Be that guy that they want to call and say, Adam, I need your help. Frank, I need your help. All right. That's when you're recognized as an industry leader. So those you've got to be your mindset. I know a lot of people that their business is just about doing what they're doing. They don't want to like stand out from the crowd, and that's fine. But you and I, our programming is all about winning. So I had some questions that I wanted to throw at you in a little
But before you
topic.
do that first question, would you
Yeah,
just, again, we digress a lot. We go off on
yes,
these tangents, you and I.
yeah, we do.
So
We go
our
so
10
further
minute conversation.
afield. Nothing will ever be scripted with us.
Nothing is scripted, and nothing's off the table. So when I was running my college recruiting business, we helped high school athletes get athletic scholarship. We helped over 100,000 kids around the United States get athletic scholarships. They didn't go into debt. Mom and dad didn't have to second
Yeah.
mortgage their house. So I spoke to a lot of colleges around and high schools around the country, and I had 900 people working for me around the country, going out helping, because I can't be in every high school. So I basically rinse and repeat. I
Mhm.
duplicated myself. But as I was talking to high schools and colleges, and there is I call it a disease. There's a disease in America called settle for.
Mhm.
People settle for where they're at.
Yes. Yes.
And they make just enough money to pay their bills, and they have enough left over to buy a six pack.
Yes.
And they're happy.
Yeah.
They're settling for where they're at.
Yeah. So,
And I've never settled. And if
yeah.
you're and I tell these kids as athletes, as an athlete, you can't settle.
No.
You can't settle for second place. And there's a reason why there's winners and losers. You win a game or you lose a
Yeah.
game. You win a match, whether it's tennis, swimming, golf, equestrian. We did every sport as long as it was a college sport you can get an athletic scholarship in, we helped them.
Yeah.
And so you what do you do to do that? You got to have good grades. You means you got to study. Your body's got to be in good shape. You got to be a good person. Social media was just coming around. I
Hmm.
said they're going to scrub you. They're going to look through your social media. If they see weed or beer or you're abusing whatever it is you're doing, and it's between you and another athlete, and you're the exact same athlete, but their social media is not crap and yours is, you're not getting the scholarship.
Yeah.
Your job is to give that
Yeah.
college coach more reasons to say yes to you than somebody else.
And what's important, this is something, for those that are watching, I'm going to say, here's a level, right? This is the level here, we're going to go here. All right. If you set your goal here, some will get here, but most will be around here. All right. Let's do that a bit better on the camera. But if you set your goals up here, you will be in this area. If you set your goals above everyone else, even if you don't accomplish your goal, you will accomplish more than everyone else. So the higher you set your goal, even if you don't hit it, you'll overtake everyone who set their goals lower because your drive is that much higher already. You may not hit your target, you may exceed your target, but you will overtake everyone that settled for mediocre. Because if your goal is to be average, you will be average. If your goal is to be
Every
crazy
day of the
and
week.
eccentric, like me and like you, then you will be crazy and eccentric. And for me, it's like I'm sitting in my house. Look, I'm sitting here. This is like, I got all dressed up for our call today,
Oh
right?
no,
You know?
gonna burn my eyes.
And I'm negotiating transactions in the hundreds of millions of dollars, not ones, not tens, hundreds. One of our transactions just alone right now that we're negotiating on is almost at $1 billion level. And I'm doing that from my house, in my shorts, like, on my phone. I am hustling my living, and you've been to my house, so you understand what I'm talking about. This is the mindset. I have my studio here. I have like my office. I've got everything. And I don't need to have, and this is interesting because it goes back to my New York days. When I had my real estate office in the Empire State Building, I used to have this beautiful 3,000 square foot office on the 76th floor. It was amazing. I loved it. And I had about 30 or 40 people working in the bullpen. I had this beautiful corner office with double windows on the east side. I felt like the king. But anyway, and people used to call me and they say, "Are you really in the building, or you have like a Regis HQ?" I'm like, "Come on up." And I was the only one that had these big mahogany doors. All the other doors are like green and big sign on the door, the big entrance room with the beautiful receptionist and the big name on the carpet. They were like, "Wow," you know. But what I learned about, I had 40 people in the room on an average day, and two or three of them were killers. They just go out and do deals. Didn't need to give them LoopNet, Property Shark, uh, MLS, nothing. They would just go out and they would just do deals. Everyone else needed this tool and this tool and this tool and that tool, and yet they couldn't make a deal. They couldn't put two and two and add four if their lives physically depended on it. There are people who will just succeed in business because it's what they are genetically made to do. And there are people who go out and start their business and they fail or they don't really accomplish their goals because they needed that resource or that mentor or that guidance. And if you're in business and you need to rely on someone to mentor you, to guide you, to tell you how to think, if you need someone else's opinion, you shouldn't be in that business. If you're going to be in business, be able to make a decision on the flip of a coin and say, I need to make that decision right now, right? What do I do? And go for it. And even if it's the wrong decision, make it work. Because that's how you survive in business, right? You sometimes you have difficult choices. You've got to pick the best bad one you got to work with, right? Sometimes you have easier choices. Sometimes there's a journey to accomplish. Sometimes it's handed to you, right? But if your genetic coding is to succeed, you will succeed. If your genetic coding is you need a tour guide to walk you through how to do this, it's probably not for you. And I don't say that to be mean. I just say that from my own experience. The most successful people figured it out for themselves and did it in a second, right? Where the people that needed someone to tell them, I don't know, I need my lawyer, I need my accountant, I need my business manager, I need my mentor, I need my advisor, I gotta ask a friend, the wife's gonna make a decision, I don't know, I gotta go and see my fortune teller and see if what she's said. Like these people that with all these needs, it's I'm sorry to say it, they won't ever accomplish their goals because they're not.
Did you ever read? Have you read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki?
I've not read the whole book, but I have read some of it. Yeah,
So the premise of the book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. So his biological dad was the poor dad. He was this is what I get paid per hour. I get 2 weeks vacation. I get benefits. I get my 45 minutes for lunch, right?
yeah,
I have the protection of working for somebody. They're an employee mentality. His rich dad was his best friend's dad, who was an entrepreneur, and basically was the idea was you want to be able to have what freedom is, where you have money coming in whether you're working or not working and your bills are paid.
yeah,
And so you have, and there's four buckets. If you're a doctor or a lawyer, I can only make so much money depending on how many patients I see, right? So you
Yeah.
go, oh, I'm in business for myself. Well, there's only so many patients you can see as a doctor. There's only so many clients you can see as an
Yeah.
attorney, right? And then, you got your employee mentality, and then you got your entrepreneur, and then, you got guys like you and I that will work on generating wealth. So whether you're working in your underwear or you're working in,
Okay, sure.
whatever you're doing, but those are the mentality. So not everyone, and so I tell this because not everyone is cut out to be a business owner. Just because you can fix a lawnmower doesn't mean you're going to open up a lawnmower
Yeah.
repair shop
Yeah.
and be successful.
Because businesses face challenges and they're unexpected, all right? And you have to be able to, all right, uh, in a second, make a decision. Sometimes you got to make tough decisions where someone might not be working out and you may feel bad, but you got to do the right thing because it's going to affect your business. Sometimes unexpected, like just yesterday, I had two enormous challenges occur. I was not expecting either one. Well, one of them I kind of knew was coming. I just didn't want to face it because it was someone I like and respect. But I made a decision that what we're doing is at a level where I need to have the best man for the job, and that was greater than loyalty in that case. And another case, someone we had to an important member of our team had a major incident and can no longer help us, so we had to replace that person. And that was the last thing I expected. That person is like a crucial member, but they have an emergency and can't presently do what I need them to. So I had to replace two key members. I'm not talking about like mid-level or low level. I'm talking about two intimate, close, important members of my team and be prepared to do that in a day in order to meet a deadline. And it's you have to be able to think on your feet and think quickly and to be able to perform and execute and solve a problem. And not everyone is ready for that. Some people having a problem occur ends their world. Like in business,
Or you have to be there's a lot of anecdotal stories in business, but just because it's well, you spoke to me in a manner. I need my safe space now, and you got all these weak-minded people. Well, why are you mad at me? But it's only 9:07. I know I was supposed to be here at 9. What's the big deal, dude? Right?
now
And
you know
they,
why I left Los Angeles and moved to Miami.
so
It's like
yeah,
I talk to people in
and I'm a stickler. For me,
yeah,
the things that are important to me is show up on time, which means you be 15 minutes early,
or be
and
15
communicate.
minutes late.
So yeah, and then communication is key. If you can't communicate with me, we can't do business. You may be a
Yeah,
great person, we may have a good time going out and having a
yeah,
cocktail, but if you can't communicate, which means if I send an email, I don't need a reply right away. But if I send a text message or if I leave a voicemail, get back to me before the day's out.
yeah,
Don't let days and weeks go by with no communication.
yeah.
It's rude, it's inconsiderate,
Correct,
and
correct.
it's just and I don't tolerate that. I
Yeah,
don't tolerate it from my kids. Here's another little anecdote. So I was raising my two daughters by myself while they were teenagers. And so they each had cell phones. The reason they had cell phones was for when they were out and about, so I can communicate with them. And so they would be out with their friends, and I'm calling and I'm texting, and I'm not getting a call back. So I'm on the plan. I go on my computer, turn off the phone, and then inevitably I get a call from a strange number. I'm like, hello, and they're like, Dad, my phone's not working. I said I turned it off because you did not get back to me. I said you have the phone for one reason, for me to communicate with you. That's it. And and even on like you and I met on LinkedIn many years ago when we both had
long
dark
time ago.
hair,
Yeah,
uh, and no wrinkles on our faces.
yeah, right.
Uh, the Botox is looking good, brother.
I've actually never done it. I just,
Yeah.
I'm not in the sun that
Yeah,
much.
I'm the same way.
Yeah,
We have our hair, we have our
yeah,
wrinkles. It's a sign, it's a badge of honor. But on LinkedIn, like I got what 20,000 people that I'm connected with. And by the way, over a course of a year, I reach out to all of them, every
yeah,
single one of them. I will send a note, and it is so frustrating because what LinkedIn is not Facebook or Instagram. I don't need friggin' followers. This is a business networking site. How can I help you and how can you help me? That is the only purpose we're connected.
Yeah.
And it is so frustrating when I send messages out, or if we recently connected, great, let's set up a time to speak and see how I can help you, see if there's any mutual business opportunities. And again, I tell people, I said, I am not looking for followers. I'm already a successful business guy. This is a business networking site. How can
Yeah.
we help each other? That's the
Yeah.
only reason for us to
Yeah.
connect.
Yeah.
Inevitably, someone will ignore the message, their contact information, so I have their email. So then I'll throw an email out. If I still get no reply, I swear to God, this happens every time. The third message, because I give people three chances, right? One, two, three strikes, you're out. I send them another note. If I don't get a reply, this is verbatim. Hey, Bill, I'm not really sure why we connected on a business networking site, kind of rude and inconsiderate not to reply to a message. I swear on all that is holy, sending that message, they all reply. Like, well, I'm busy. I said, no, what it took was being called rude and inconsiderate for you to reply. You could have just said that initially and been more of a professional.
Right.
But
Yeah.
anyway, I
Do
digress.
you want to hear something funny? I'll tell you something funny. And then we're going to go into our questions because I took the
Sure.
time to
I don't
write
think
them
so. I
down.
think that'll be
Well,
part two, episode two, questions with Frank
questions.
and Adam.
All right. So I'll tell you something really funny. Many years ago, before I met my wife, I figured I'd try out dating sites, right? And I read what other people were writing on their site. I'm a nice guy. I'm looking for this. I'm looking for that. I want to treat you less special, blah, blah, blah. So I kind of like, yeah, boring, 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 boring. So I tried writing the nice thing, blah, blah, blah. No responses. No one's interested. No one cares, right? Everything good. All right, fine. I'm gonna just write something funny, something outrageously stupid, right? I wrote, "I'm a douche. I don't care about your feelings. I don't care about your thoughts. I prefer it if you don't speak. If you're no picture, you are fat and ugly. If you are, I literally did this." And my friends who were girls read this, and they're like, "There's no way you were putting that online, right?" And I'm like, I cannot tell you how many people wrote me back. All right. How many people? It was like if I was putting out an ad to correct attention, I got it. I hit the nail on the head. All right. Literally, so many messages. Some of them were like, "Oh, wow, you seem pretty funny. I love what you wrote." And some of them were like, "You're a dick." And I'm like, look at what you wrote. I have to be this high, have to be this rich, have to be this good looking, right? I'm like, I'm like, what did I write that was any worse than what you said, right? You know,
And what about false advertising? They got the false eyelashes, they
yeah,
got the hair extensions, they got the
yeah,
Botox, they got the Spanx to hold all that stuff
but
together. They got the fake nails, they got the fake tan, they got the fake boobs. They
yeah,
got
uh,
they're so fraudulent, and but they want honesty from the guy.
yeah. But you know what it is? Interesting, two interesting quotes
This
and then
section, by the
questions.
way, this section of the podcast is probably going to get us both in a lot of trouble.
Probably, probably, but hey, I'm used to it. All right, so, but and I don't think Alfie watches them anyway, so we're good. So maybe the first 5 minutes, but we're good. But the two
This will be the
things,
reel that's going to go viral on social media.
yeah, right. Anyway, two interesting quotes. One, you'll lose a lot of money chasing women, but you'll never lose women chasing money, right?
Yeah.
That's an interesting one. The second one, it says, men lie about their wealth to attract women, and women use makeup to lie about their looks to attract men. So, all to your point, uh, slightly overrepresenting. So,
Yeah.
but I remember that was very funny, and I just had so many responses. It was just like I didn't even have to like reach out to anyone. What I wrote was enough to spark a response.
Yeah, one way or another, you're gonna get
You
someone
know,
to.
my point is that in business, don't follow the crowd, right? Follow what sparks a response. It's what makes you stand out. Now, Mr. Torchia, Torch Entertainment, I wrote down 5 questions and gave you the opportunity to throw one back, right?
All
So,
right, so hit me with first question number one.
the first question, we are 40 minutes in.
We're 40 minutes in on a 45-minute podcast. You got 5 minutes to answer 5 questions. Go.
40 minutes into a 1 hour conversation. Question one.
Are we taking wages if we're going to get through all 5 questions in
No.
60 minutes?
Okay. All right. So I'll read the question and then you may roll into the answer and I
Uh,
may rebut where applicable based on the fact I know you probably as well as some of your closest friends.
yes,
Okay.
true, true.
All right. What made you want to get into the TV and film business and who was your biggest inspiration?
So it was interesting. So it wasn't a choice.
Sorry, sorry. Oh, sorry.
I was a Wall Street guy like you for a bit, and after I got out of Jack LaLanne, when ADT got sold, I started my college recruiting business. So that was my main bread and butter. And I went through a divorce and went to LA, and a cousin, former Mr. America bodybuilder. He knew I went through a divorce, went to LA, kind of hung out a little bit. He had a friend who needed some money for a small independent film,
Are we
and
talking
he
like
knew I worked on Wall
X-rated or
Street.
we're talking like regular
No, no, just a regular. It was Delusion was the name of the film. It
delusion?
didn't, but
Okay.
they needed like 250,000 for the film, small independent film.
So it was
And
making
Mike
Democrats.
said, "Hey,
All right.
yeah,
Delusion.
can you help?" I said, and I didn't know. So this is 2007. So this is 19 years
Yeah.
ago. And so this is before the crash of '08. And so I said, I'll try. Well, within 36 hours, we raised the money, right? It was, I didn't know what I was doing. We raised the money. I put some money in my pocket. More importantly, I now got to see how a film was made because I was on set. I saw how cameras were put together. I saw the multiple takes. I saw how everything was put, the actors and how it all. I'm like, wow, I can do this. And so I formed my company, Torch Entertainment. And then I got through. My cousin Mike was a big help in this because he was a former Mr. America bodybuilder. He trained Al Pacino, Kevin Spacey, Matt Damon for the Bourne series. Roseanne Barr was his first client when he moved from New York to
I
LA.
wouldn't brag about
And
that.
he was a well-connected individual.
Yeah.
And so I met somebody called Larry Jacobson. Larry
Uh-huh.
Jacobson has the fourth most hours of primetime drama in TV history.
Hmm.
And I was a somebody outside of entertainment, but I was a nobody within entertainment. But
Yeah.
I had a better work ethic than everybody else.
It's all about
But
connections.
I had no credits other than this
Yeah.
small little thing. But Larry and I became good friends. We'd smoke cigars together. And he said, just tell people you're my partner. And if they call me, I'll say yes. So I used his credibility to build my credibility.
Yeah.
Met another guy named David Pritchard who created Family Guy. Him and I
Mhm.
became really good friends. We worked on several projects together. He said the same thing. He said, Frank, he goes, you're doing really good work. You got a great work ethic. I'm running two companies. I still got my college recruiting business. I'm now
Yeah.
developing my entertainment business as a single dad raising two teenage daughters. So I'm talking about multitasking. And so David said the same thing. Hey, you don't have a lot of credits. Just say people you're partners with David Pritchard from Gigapix, and all of a sudden business started coming my way, and we got a lot of projects put together. And next thing I know, we're doing projects on Discovery Channel, and we're doing projects on A&E, and we had some features that were getting put together, and we ended up being the go-to group. And then we just built out the team, right? Because I needed writers and directors, and I needed cinematographers, and then I needed editors. Um, and then the next thing you know, we're the first 9 years set the tone for these last 10 years, and these last 10 years we've had a dozen films, we've had 70 some odd TV shows. Um, it's been an interesting journey, but it wasn't in my head that I was going to be a film and TV guy. Um, but in retrospect, now my kids are 32 and 30, and so they've seen me for 19 years in this film and TV. So they kind of grew up with me in this business, and like, Dad, you've always been a storyteller. This was what you were supposed to do anyway,
I think that's why
because
you
I
and I
tell
get along.
stories.
Yeah, that's why
Yeah,
you and I
and
get
it's the
along. Yeah.
and because our previous generations, you're from United Kingdom, my family's from Italy, you know, how we knew about our grandparents and our great grandparents and our great great grandparents is through storytelling, right?
Yes.
It got passed
Yes.
down from generation.
Yeah.
And so I still tell stories about my grandparents. I still tell stories about my dad has passed, my mom passed away last year. So I still tell funny stories
Yeah.
to not only my kids, but my grandkids. So they'll be able to regurgitate those stories.
Yeah.
And one of the stories I still today tell, because I love hamburgers and French fries.
Who doesn't? Never trust a
So,
person that doesn't enjoy hamburgers and French fries.
but I put my French fries on my hamburger. When I was 5 years old, I would go to my grandpa Frank, who I'm named for. We would watch the old WWF wrestling, Andre the Giant and Chief Jay
Hmm.
Strongbow. It was on Saturday night at 12 o'clock on WOR in New York. I remember it like it was yesterday. It
Yeah.
was 55 freaking years ago. And then my grandfather would take me to Burger King, get me a little Happy Meal, and he taught me to put French fries on my hamburger. And to this day, I can't eat a hamburger unless I put French fries on it. So whenever I go out with someone I haven't had dinner with or lunch, I always order a hamburger and French fries. And I tell that story about my grandfather. One, I love hamburgers and put French fries on it. Two, I get to immortalize my grandpa Frank. I get to keep his name alive
Yeah.
even though he passed away in 1979. And so I was coming back from LA about 5 years ago, going to my cigar lounge I go to, and I was bitching and complaining that I spent $50 on a hamburger, French fries, and a beer. But I got to tell my hamburger and French fries story. And this older guy was sharing that my son would have really enjoyed that story. And I'm like, well, what happened to your son? And he goes, well, he passed away about 6 years ago. His son was Andrew, and he started getting a little emotional. And I said, well, tell me something cool about Andrew. And he's got himself together. And he said, when Andrew was 7 and his little brother William was 5, they got him a little Ghostbuster, I'm going to kill the ghost, the Ghostbuster pack from the Ghostbuster movies.
Who are you going to
And
call?
yeah, and then his little
Ghostbusters.
brother had a bicycle, and so Andrew gave his little brother his Ghostbuster pack because he'd be more like a Ghostbuster riding his bicycle, killing the ghosts.
Yeah.
And so I told this man, I said, and I can't remember the man's name, but I remember Andrew's name. I said, I will immortalize your son, Andrew. When I tell my grandpa Frank's story about French fries, I'm going to tell Andrew and the Ghostbusters. So people are going to
Yeah.
know about your son that have never met your son. And my daughters, especially my older daughter, she goes, that's why you do this, because you're good at telling stories.
It's interesting in the UK. I mean, I don't know what the kids are doing at home these days. I haven't lived in England for 26 years. But in the UK, we used to make sometimes a French fry sandwich and we'd call it a chip butty.
Yeah, you guys call them chips. That's right.
A chip butty, which is basically a French fry sandwich. And I still have friends that also put French fries, chips, as they're supposed to be called, right? And potato chips are crisps, so you understand. But they still put crisps. So
Yeah,
chip.
you people have a weird language.
We do not. We speak properly. You speak Americrap. That you call it English, but really you shouldn't. You should call it's Americrap. It's a bad variation of English, right? I
And
think
you speak it very well now. You're
I,
bilingual.
I do. I do. Funny, the biggest challenge for me moving to America from the UK was the language barrier because you guys just speak so poorly. It's like
Especially going to New York. Forget about it, right? Oh my
exactly.
God.
If you go into a New York restaurant and try to order a glass of water, they'll tell you it's illegal. They don't have any. Are you crazy?
Can I see your
Get out
ID?
of my restaurant. I'm like, what did I say? What did I say? And these are real things that people actually said to me when I first moved there, by the
Yeah,
way.
I was
That's
probably
funny
one of
because I
them.
didn't make it up.
I we probably ran across each other, and I was probably one of those guys that said that.
Yeah. I remember going to some Indian restaurant in Forest Hills in New York when I first moved there and ordering a glass of water, and the waiter was saying to me, "Don't even sorry, sir. I cannot help you." And I apologize for the accent, but I'm British is what we do.
Can you just point to the menu on what you want, please?
I'm probably going to get in trouble for that one, but it's
That's
like
okay.
growing up in England, that's kind of like, you gotta love Simpsons and Apu, right? It's
Yeah,
like it's like he
it's your cross to bear, Adam.
yeah, I mean when he did that, he just like He just hit the nail on the head. He just hit the nail. Every Englishman watching that couldn't stop laughing. It was just so funny, you know. So apologize, did not mean to offend anyone, but British humor.
Well,
I grew up in the 80s, and now it's our thing. You can't just turn around and say, "Hey, that's not politically correct anymore." And you can't say it because people don't stop being who we are based on the way we grew up,
yeah.
just to please, the 1% of idiots, people who are challenged. All right, idiots. All right, well, so let's move on.
Second part of the first question, by the way. And what are we at? How long have we been so far?
We're like 50 minutes, 51 minutes.
50 minutes. So 50 minutes, and we're only on part one
Question
of the
one.
first question. So now what's part two?
Part two of the second question. You're inspirational.
Again, I think we kind of covered both of it.
Cover
There was
that.
really no inspiration to get it,
Yeah.
other than I wanted, someone asked me to help raise some money. I did. I put some money in my pocket. And the ego I had was I can do this and I can do it better than everybody else.
Just like me with my business. The same.
And I
Yeah.
have there's a belief I have in myself that I'm not that I'm stuck up, that I'm better. I believe I can outwork anybody. No one's getting up earlier than me. No one's going to bed later than me. No one's going to knock on more doors than me. No, and by the way, there's a term that it was taught to me when I was working on Wall Street in the 90s. It was called lunch up. And what lunch up means is you take out people more successful than you that are in your business and that's something that you want to aspire to, and you buy them lunch. And back in the day, the cell phones. It was interesting about cell phones. When cell first came out, you had to pay per minute.
Yeah, I
Like
remember
75
that.
cents a
Yeah,
minute.
25
I
cents a
had
minute.
friends that
Yeah,
were
and like
spending
10 cents after
thousands a month on
six.
cell phones.
Yeah.
It was crazy. But I would call up people, successful people that were on Wall Street making millions of dollars a year, and everyone wanted some free lunch.
Yeah.
And I would offer to buy people lunch, and I would pick their brain, and I would lunch up. Every day I would buy someone lunch who was more successful than me. And just so I can kind of figure how did they get there? Well, and I, by the way, I still do this today. When in New York or LA, even people here in town, there's a couple of folks, very super successful people. And I've never met anyone who doesn't want a free lunch.
I want to free
Because
lunch.
Yeah, and so, hey, can we set up a meeting? Oh, I don't have time for a meeting. I'm really busy. Talk to my secretary. You offer to buy them lunch. It's amazing how quickly they clear their
That's so
calendar.
true. That's actually really true. Even the richest of people want a free lunch, and it's like it's really true. Really,
It's
really true.
it's a fascinating way to help build your network, not your
Yeah.
net worth, but your network, which will impact your net worth. But it's what was it? There was an old phrase: you help enough people get what they want, eventually you get what you want.
I always heard that if you shake them upside down long enough, all their money falls out their pockets, and then you just take it off them and run.
Well, that was my Italian heritage back in New York City, but
Yeah.
we that got disbanded. So now it's but that was kind of what we did is and I still do that today. I mentor and I pay it forward. And it just doesn't always come back,
Yeah.
but I don't do it for the comeback. I do it, you know. These two guys helped me when they didn't know who the hell I was, and it got to the point where I was able to, help produce a documentary about President Trump and with his kids and his grandkid, and have some interesting stories and interesting people along the way. And so I'm still going to do it. I'm 59. I'm going to be 60 here soon in my last year in my 50s. And it's you learn. I pick up things from that I think could be applicable from our very lengthy conversations that we have over the years.
Yeah.
Um, and so from people that I run across that I think could have if I can have a positive impact on other people's lives, I do it. If it's a financial win, great. But if it's not, I'm at the stage in my life. It's all about joy and happiness.
Yeah.
And I get a lot of joy and happiness from helping other people. And I
Yeah,
want to surround myself with those kind of people as well. So if you're a miserable SOB and you're negative and you just got this crappy outlook on life, I don't want to be around those kind of people. Life
yeah,
is fleeting, life is short, and it's all about, we have so much fun with our conversations when we hang out together, our lunches, or we're having drinks with your wife. There's a joy about it. And so
yeah,
it's not just about business, but it's about, the genuine true friendship and camaraderie that we've developed over the years is the thing that inspires me to keep doing what I'm doing. And
absolutely.
so
Absolutely. So I'm going to lead into my next question. All right.
we got 30 seconds left, so make it
30 seconds
fast.
left. So let's talk about the weather. Tell us about your best or worst projects.
So, boy, that's hard. I love baseball.
I can see.
I love my New York
I can
Yankees.
see you got a big baseball thing right behind you.
And
Who's
I
your
am
team?
I'm a proud Italian New Yorker, and I
Yankees
was
then.
very fortunate to produce a documentary about the Italian national baseball team that came to the US and was in the World Baseball Classic. And I got to spend 2 weeks with them, in the clubhouse, in the locker room, practice, at the dining halls. And it was just this cool experience. Um, and it did really well. And it was kind of an emotional thing because that was back in 2017, and my dad had passed in 2013. And so there was like Tony La Russa, Sal Bando, some of the Italian players that my dad knew. And so I knew he was here, in spirit, but he wasn't physically there to kind of see his son do something cool in that moment.
Mhm.
So it's more of a nostalgia, sentimental project that's near and dear to my heart. It's about the Italians. It's about baseball. The love that of baseball that my dad gave me from when I was a kid, just playing catch with him, and then going to Yankee games. Uh, so that was a good project. Obviously, doing the project about President Trump. I think anyone to be involved with any of the presidents. I just happened to I voted for Trump, and this was really what was really unique about the Donald Trump documentary, The Man You Don't Know. We started filming August 20th of 2024,
Mhm.
and we screened it at Mar-a-Lago October 23rd. So within 60 days, we filmed it, edited it on the fly in 5 different cities. And then it was in 2,000 theaters, October 20th, nationwide.
This is the man you don't know.
That's The Man You Don't Know.
Yeah.
And so we interviewed his kids, Don Jr., Eric, Kai. We had Hulk Hogan, Frank Stallone, Amber Rose, and then some folks that you just wouldn't know of that he used to do things just because he thought someone was being harmed before he was in politics. And there was a couple in North Carolina that lost their farm. This is when he was still married to Ivanka, or Ivana Trump. And he's like, they're laying in bed, and man, someone should help because they lost their family farm. It was in the family for 300 years. And he goes, man, I wish someone should help that family. And Ivana goes, well, why don't you help them? And he bought the family farm back for them and saved the family farm.
Yeah, Trump's done a lot of amazing things over the years. He doesn't get credit for it because people want to like the mainstream media wants to show him in a negative light. But I've met Donald Trump on a number of occasions. I've actually done business with him over the years, and when I lived in New York, when I had my real estate company, and I can't say I ever had a negative experience with him. He wanted to hire me at one point, and I was I don't like working for people. I've always run my own business, so I politely declined. He tried to get me on The Apprentice, but I also know I have a runaway mouth, so it's
I wouldn't have believed that.
so I didn't want to be reflecting negatively on national TV. you know, because we all have our shining moments, and I'm quite a fiery person, so it's like you set me off on the wrong. It's like if you've ever cut me off at a traffic light, you'll understand, right? So,
I've
so,
sat in that passenger seat of your car, so yes, I
so
I can
you
attest to
understand.
this.
You understand exactly.
So I'll tell you an
So,
interesting story about Donald Trump.
yeah.
And so this is in the 90s. And so with my fiance, we weren't married yet. We go I used to love to gamble, going to the casinos in Atlantic City. And so back in the day, I wore a lot of jewelry, and I had an FT diamond ring that my parents gave me when I graduated Columbia. You can see it
Mhm.
from space. It was really gaudy. And I'm shooting craps in one of Trump's casinos, and this guy comes over to me and he goes, "Oh, nice ring." I said, "Yes, my initials, Frank Torchia. My parents gave it to me when I graduated college." And he goes, "Well, my name is Fred Trump." He goes, "I want to buy the ring." I said, "Well, it's more sentimental than any kind of value." And we're bantering back and forth. And he ends up getting us a drink. And it was Donald Trump's dad. So flash forward to 2015. So I'm helping him on his campaign in 15 and 16. We kind of help him with the rallies around the country. And the first rally is in Phoenix, Arizona at the convention center.
Hmm.
So we're backstage, and this is his first big rally after his announcement when he walks down the golden
Yeah.
escalator. And so I say, "Hey, Mr. Trump," I said, "Hey, Frank," I said, I got a cool story about your dad that you don't know." He goes, "I know all my dad's stories." I said, "Well, you don't know this one, sir." And I tell him about the diamond ring and that his dad tried to buy the ring for me at one of his Trump casinos. And without missing a beat, he taps me on the shoulder. He goes, "I was always a better salesperson than my dad. I would have bought it." And he exits stage left and he goes on and he speaks for an hour and 45 minutes. And so then when we're doing the movie, The Man You Don't Know, I met Don and Eric, but I never got a chance to tell them the story about their grandfather. So I was with them for a full
Yeah.
week as we're filming. And so I got the chance to chat with them and tell them I said, "Hey, I got a story about your grandfather that I know you don't know about it." "Oh,
Yeah.
I know all of them." I said, "Well, this one you don't." And they're like, "Yep, that's dad." It was more about their dad would have thought he would have bought the ring from
Yeah.
me. But it was a moment because you don't know every interaction that your family makes outside of your own little world, right? But I thought this was a cool moment to then kind of share a highlight as we're talking about their dad, give them a little insight that, hey, I've known the Trump family for a long
Yeah.
time growing up in New York. And I wanted to tell them a cool story about their
Mhm.
grandfather. So those two will probably be so the Man You Don't Know was just cool because it's historical. I think it'll be here for generations. And then the baseball documentary is just more passion because I was really proud of it because of my Italian heritage and the love of baseball that my dad gave me.
Yep. I always wonder why Americans are so obsessed with sports involving balls. Baseball, football, golf.
Well, and again, I'm Italian, so we're obsessed with meatballs.
People, it's like the key word is it's like I don't know how much trouble I'll get into
I
this
don't know.
one,
You're
but
English people. You got your football. You got tennis.
yeah.
You got
But,
cricket.
but
You got rugby. You got your
but it's
own little
amazing how
delusional stuff
important the
going on.
ball is to sports, right? You take
Yeah,
away the ball, we lose 90% of what we want.
yeah. Basketball, football,
Football,
baseball.
golf, tennis, badminton. I mean, you name it.
Now you got pickleball. Everyone's doing
Pickleball, another
pickleball.
one you see. It's like,
Oh,
the ball was probably one of the most successful inventions of all time. That and
and
the
it came from
sandal.
Adam.
Yeah.
That was Adam's first thing from Adam and Eve.
Okay, so you messed around with my order because we went forward and back and then forward again and all of that. So we've kind of like redistributed the questions here. So that's going to leave me with two questions remaining. Um, my next question would be, what would you tell people who want to get into the TV or film business, directors and producers, not so much actors? What would you tell them would be the do's, the do nots, what's a good path, what's the wrong path? What would be your bit of big brother advice to somebody starting out?
Well, I think it would be. I mean, we had our pre-conversation before the podcast started, And there's no perfect time. Everyone wants to wait. Oh, I want to learn more. And oh, the timing's not right, whether it's to buy a house, start a business, date, whatever. Oh, I have, don't wait, just do it. Right. So if you want to become a producer, my suggestion would be go produce something. And it doesn't have to be $1 million project. Our phones today shoot in 4K. And the story that's not told is the story that you're thinking about. And so Quentin Tarantino talks about that as well. He goes, if you're going to go do something, if you want to be a filmmaker, so not just a producer director, you want to be a filmmaker, right? Because that's what I consider myself, a filmmaker, uh, and getting into cinema. And rather than social media content, these things that people's their attention spans are 30, 60 seconds,
They
right?
won't be
But
watching
if you want to
it.
do, you want to make a film, go make a film. And don't wait because it's never a perfect time. And then there's so many projects that are being filmed in every city around the country. And you can go to, there's different websites that you can go to, Staff Me Up, Crew Up, Production Hub, and find out what production's going and be an intern. Go, hey, what do you, this is the lowest level is called a production assistant. Go be a production assistant. Go see how it's done, right? And you see people who are successful in the business that you want to be in, and then my suggestion is lunch up. Go offer to buy them lunch. And because that's you want to buy, you want to talk to the people that are doing something that you want to do.
Yeah.
If I want to be a great garbage man, I'm not going to go talk to an electrician because an electrician doesn't know what a garbage man's doing.
Yeah, I agree
So
with that. If you want to be a great successful in any business, you want to shadow someone who's already successful in that business, getting that opportunity to learn from them, to observe them, to see their techniques. I always tell anyone that wants to get involved in real estate, like step one is not go and buy a house, spend money, run out of money, lose the house, right? Step one, go get your real estate license, learn about real estate. Then go
yeah,
work for an agency, learn about buying and selling real estate, learn about the market. By the time you can afford to use your commissions to buy a house, you'll understand what to do. That's the
yeah,
advice I always give people. And that's very good advice because it's teaching them to learn from others, right? To make money whilst they're learning, and then to take
yeah.
the money that they've made to make their first investment because they'll understand by that point what it is they need to do. And that's a very important. So what you're saying is I completely agree with is if you want to get into the TV and filmmaking, if you want to get involved in any business, don't try to be the king day one. Like admit that there's a lot that you don't know that could save you, make you, break you, and learn from people who are the best. Because most successful people are always willing to mentor someone, to teach them, to show them
Yeah.
the right way. And like for me, I didn't need that, right? For you, I don't think you needed it. You and I were very strong in character, right? But even still, you learned what you know from someone, and I learned what I know from someone. And for me, it was just asking the right questions, and then through experience. But that's where you
And you
start.
outwork everybody else. I think at the end of the day, it comes to work ethic. So it's not working harder or smarter. It's all about work ethic, right? So the tools that you're being taught, utilize them, make them your own, so that you can apply them to whatever it is that you're currently doing. I'll tell you a quick story. So I told you one of the guys who helped me, a guy named Larry Jacobson. He's in
Mhm.
his 80s now, right? Again, he's got the fourth most hours of primetime drama produced in history, like
Mhm.
980 hours of, he's behind Dick Wolf on Law and Order and Belisario on NCIS, and I think
Mhm.
there's one other,
I watch the show
but
every
he's
week.
number four.
Yeah.
And so he hasn't done anything in quite a while, probably 10, 12 years. So last summer he calls me, and we again, it's always, what have you done for me lately? I've had a pretty good last 10 years, but last 5 years was really pretty special for us. I think we're going in a really cool direction.
Mhm.
So Larry calls me, and so he goes, "Hey, when are you going to be in LA?" I said, "Hey, when do you want me to be in LA?" So I flew to LA, met him in Beverly Hills, and we're smoking cigars. And he goes, "Hey, I produced the first reality show back in 1979. It's called The Comeback
Yeah.
with Robert Whitmore. Robert Whitmore was the old man in Shawshank Redemption that hung himself, if you remember that
I
movie,
remember that. Yeah.
Academy Award winning. And so we had basically the comeback was all these famous people like Freddie Fender, Rocky Blyer from the Pittsburgh Steelers. He was a Vietnam vet, lost half his foot, won a Super Bowl. Rosemary Clooney was this big superstar, and right after RFK got shot and killed, she went into drugs and alcohol. She made a comeback. All these people that have made comebacks, and it was one season. It was like 22 episodes, and there's only 3 episodes left in from the tapes in the archives because the warehouse burnt down. And so we have the original 3 tapes, and we actually I met we had one put we took one of the tapes. One of them was Rosemary Clooney, and we gave it to George Clooney as a gift because that was his aunt. And no one had seen that in 50 years or 40 years,
Yeah.
whatever it was. So we gave it to him and his agent as a, hey, as a gift for George. And so we got a super cool note back, how much he appreciated that, and seeing his aunt, because he never saw the show. He
Yeah.
didn't realize there was a show. Um, so Larry calls me, and so I thought it was really cool. Here's the guy who kind of helped me get started in this business, and now he's asking me to produce a show for him all these years later. And so it was a cool moment.
Do you know, it's funny because knowledge and experience are definitely the two best ways of learning any business, right? For me, it was definitely going to be good looks and charm.
And you
I've
succeeded
gotten so
anyway.
far
You succeeded anyway.
I've gotten so far just because of this dashingly handsome face, right? And charm and presentation and everything Frank said, I completely agree with. You've hit the nail on the head on every key topic that I think you and I can personally relate to. But presentation is one of the biggest things that I think the one thing that you missed upon really is presentation, how you present yourself and how you present yourself to people that you want to do business with across any industry. Presentation is enormous. It's like I've honestly, even when I go back to when I was in school, my presentation was always so much better than anyone else's that even if what I'd written was complete crap, because it was presented so well, I still got the A. Presentation is something that when you're starting out in any industry, and we're talking about TV and film today, presentation, I think, is something we can't ignore.
Yeah, I think so. It was funny. So again, I ran my college recruiting business, and it's good. I'm going to get to your point on the presentation side. And I helped a lot of high school kids, and it got on social media, and I get a lot of thank yous over the years. Still in touch all these years later, and I'm still friends with a lot of these that were kids. They were 14, 15, 16 years old, and now they're married, they have kids, they have careers. Some turned pro, some didn't. And an old high school friend's dad, uh, I was coming to New York, and he wanted to buy me lunch. And so we go have lunch. His name is Bob Wolf. He's in his 80s now. Um, and what he does, he teaches soft skills to high school and college kids that is not taught in school, whether it's eye contact, handshakes, smiling, uh, all these things. And so he does that. And so we ended up doing some things together on when I was running my college recruiting business. And he calls it soft skills. You call it presentation, how you carry yourself,
Mhm.
dress for success. You gotta, don't have your pants drag. No one wants to see your
Yeah,
underwear.
yeah,
Wear closed toe shoes. No one wants to see your feet. Right? And carry yourself well. If you see some, just say hello, firm handshake. All these things that these young people are not being taught because they see
no,
social media,
yeah,
and they think they can say and get away with whatever they want. And Mike Tyson has that famous quote, "Everyone's got a plan until you get punched in the face." Well, then you
yeah,
can say whatever you want online until you
yeah,
say it in person.
yeah.
But he calls them soft skills. You call it presentation, how you carry yourself, right? I was a suit and tie guy forever. I mean, I was Barney from How I Met Your Mother. I would suit up everywhere I went, right? And I had my
Blonde?
Armani suit. I had the French
Yeah,
cufflinks with with my gold. I was that
Yeah.
guy with my ring and my gold bracelets, and I would suit up, and whenever, and I wanted to make an impression, because they may have said no to me, but I wanted to make a memorable moment.
Yeah.
And so I make my memorable moments now more in the film and TV shows that I get to pick and choose with projects I want to get involved with today.
Yeah.
Back in the day, I did what I had to do to do a show, right? I
No
had to get
judgment.
the experience, right, to do it. Well, now yeah, you were involved in some X-rated stuff that we won't go into on the show. Uh,
I wish.
but I feel very fortunate today that I want to I don't do the Kardashian garbage.
Yeah.
I really never gotten involved with that. I try to tell true stories. I like to tell reality stories, inspiring stories. But I am at a position I get to pick and choose the projects I want to be involved with. Most of the projects are my projects, but when someone has a cool story that they want to tell that I feel connected to, I jump in with 2 feet, and we've just been really fortunate in getting shows across the finish line from networks. The documentaries and features have been in theaters. We had the #1 Netflix movie. We had the #1 Apple TV movie. Uh, we've had a really good run, and it's more about. And again, it's not me. I just happen to have my name on it. But it's a team effort. I have great editors that make me look good because they edit it to make it look
Yeah.
spectacular. We get great writers and directors to kind of help tell the story, and I'm more of like I think of myself as more of a general contractor. If I'm the general contractor building the house. I'm not putting the nails in, but I make sure I get the best guy that's going to hammer the nail. I make sure I have the best people behind the camera, so everything that's looking good in front of the camera is looks really good. Because if you don't have really good people that are behind the camera that are putting it all together, it's going to look crappy. If it doesn't look good visually with the cameras and the lighting and the filters, if the sound quality is miserable, if all these things that you have to have, if hair and makeup's not right, if the props don't look good, if the set decor, all these things, different departments, if that doesn't all come together, it's going to look terrible on screen, and no one, because production value plays a big role in whether a network's going to pick it up, right?
That's
Is the
very true.
talent strong enough to carry the show? Is the production value there? And then the last one always comes down to price. If we're talking price, it's already a yes. It's just figure out what the price is. But you got to get to that, and it's always production value and talent, right? And then the talent is more of the story that's going to be told. And can they carry the show? And does it have legs, not just for season 1, but for seasons 2, 3, and 4?
So that leads me into my next question. And what's coming up next, or what's next on your big plan?
So interesting, Mr. Adam, is when I flew to Miami last year, as you recall,
Vaguely.
and spent a couple, 3 or 4 days with you and your lovely bride and your 2 gorgeous children, as we had this show idea based around you and your wife. Gorgeous wife, super successful guy, lives a pretty good lifestyle, has amazing kids. And we have this show idea with you and a couple of your couple friends on because you're a competitive guy. You don't like losing.
I really don't.
You really don't, and
I really don't.
I will attest to that. He does not like coming in second.
That's why I have my 6 hour.
And so this idea came about of, as you're a competitive guy, to have this show. Won't go into too many details because it's still super secret, but it's going to be a cool show with you and your bride and your kids, and her ethnicity being from Eastern Europe, and how you guys got together, and the couples that you got. It'll be a fun, competitive show. A little bit of Cannonball Run, if you're an old movie from back in the day.
One of my favorites.
Little sprinkle of Mission Impossible. You got 15 minutes to make a decision to kind of. So I'm telling you, this is a fun show. And again, I don't have to do anything I don't want to do. This is something that's going to be really fun. We think the audience will fall in love with you and your family and your friends. And we think this will be the next big hit that'll be on TV, and we're going to be proud to produce it for you.
And we're really looking forward to participate, and we're excited. And our goal is to start filming in the next couple of months, I believe. And we're very excited about the project. So Alfie and I were talking about it just the other day, and I said to him we're going to get that on our calendar to start hopefully filming the summer. That would be the goal. So I'm really
Yeah, I
excited
think the
about that.
goal,
Yeah,
I think we're targeting June to start filming. So we'll have kind of May to kind of do what's called pre-production, kind of put it
yeah,
all together,
yeah,
get the team ready. Even though it'll be unscripted, we still kind of have our storylines that we have to put together based on conversations I've had with you and your wife. The storylines will kind of be organic.
yeah.
But we got to put all that together. We put the production team together. We got to line everything up, and it'll be one of the more fun shows that I get to be involved with. You and I have a lot of similar interests in regards to cars and all sorts of stuff. So
Yeah.
we'll kind of lean into a lot of the fun that'll be, and then do it in a way that it's cinematic, where the audience feels like they're right there with you guys, and that because the audience has to fall in love with you, and they got to root for you, and so they have a reason to tune in week after week. And I think we'll do a really good job of doing that.
They're all gonna love Alfie a lot more than they're gonna love me, that's for sure.
Well, they're gonna love Alfie. You just have to come along for the ride.
Yeah, I just come along for the ride. I just, it's like,
I don't know.
I'll
Are you
get
gonna be
I'll get all
okay
the
to be the
haters. That's
passenger in the
fine.
passenger seat and have Alfie drive the car?
Oh, the funny thing is we're both very competitive when it comes to driving. It's not uncommon that we'll be driving, and you've seen my cars, and she's in the Rover, and she can make that Range Rover do speeds it wasn't meant to do, and, and it and we do this all the time where we'll be racing each other home, and like my one daughter will be with me and one daughter will be with her, and both are saying the same thing to me and to mom, like, I want to be first, I want to be first, I want to get there first, I want to get there first. And we'll be belting it down, not breaking any speed limits, of course. All right,
Oh,
definitely not definitely not going over any red or yellow lights,
well,
but
we take down the speed sign, so you really don't know how fast you're
I,
supposed to
I,
go.
I take the view at the speed that I usually drive at, that it's reasonable grounds to say that I'm not able to see the speed sign.
I was
So,
going with the flow of traffic, but
yeah, I
traffic's
just
behind you, but I was still flowing.
I have the F-Type RS, and I was driving down Collins into Miami Beach, and this guy in a Ferrari like tries to pull away from me, and I just kind of kept up with him like for a few lights, and he looks at me, he says, "That's a Jag." I'm like, "Yeah." He says, "No effing way that Jag kept up with the Ferrari." And I'm like, my friend, I just don't think you know how to drive it. You want to swap out the Jag? I don't understand. And we ended up just belting it down Collins into Miami Beach. And this guy kind of pulls up to me like, he's like, I gotta hand it to you. You know how to drive that thing?
It's
Yeah,
always it's always
yeah,
whether it's the driver, the producer, it's it's you got to have the confidence, and then that develops into the talent.
yeah,
And once you have the confidence and the talent, that I think it leads to that.
yeah,
Whether you're driving, whether you're in real estate, I just look at your two beautiful daughters. I mean, they're dancing, they're gorgeous. The hard work that they put in, the modeling that Alfie does. That no one they just see the end result. Oh, that's really pretty. They see your
yeah,
great lifestyle. Oh, it was either given to him or he
yeah.
got lucky. No one knows the hard work that got put into getting to where you guys are at.
It's
Whether it's
crazy
your
amount of hard
girls
work.
dancing, your wife modeling, your hustle and hard work, they got you where you are.
Yeah,
And I think there's a distinguish between, and it goes back to that book, Rich Dad Poor Dad. You either have an entrepreneurial, or you're looking for what's my hourly, what are my benefits, how many weeks vacation do I get? And I've just never been
yeah.
that guy.
No, I go on vacation. I'm hustling away. I don't understand even people that work for me that they go on vacation. They're like, "Oh, dude, I'm on vacation. Can you leave me alone?" I'm like, "Do you want to get paid on this transaction?" Well, yeah, obviously. Well, do the work, get paid. I got to give that work to someone else. I'm gonna pay them. Oh, that's not fair. And I'm like, there is this, no such thing in fair business. It's exit strategy results, right? Now,
Yeah.
for those of you watching at home, all of my guests that come on the show get their questions in advance, right? I message them the questions, we talk about them beforehand, and
I'm
they're a little
shocked.
prepared. They're a little prepared. I give them the opportunity to understand the context of the conversation so that they can answer confidently and be prepared. But I started doing this a few weeks ago, and it's been kind of funny, and I've had some good questions. So I'm letting all of my guests ask me a random question, which, by the way, they don't tell me in advance. So Frank has the opportunity to ask me a question about anything. And if I look shocked, it's because he did not tell me up front. I didn't ask him up front. I just said at the end of this podcast, he can ask me any question. It needs to be, I'm going to say PG-13 or higher. But, go ahead, shoot. If you can ask me absolutely anything. You've known me for, I think, 15 years. We've been friends a long time. You've been in my house. You've met my family. We've had many interesting conversations. You have anything you want. The camera's rolling. What have you got?
So tell me about you learning Russian.
Как дела? Привет! Хорошо.
And I want to know why. And I want a funny story about what happened when an in-law showed up.
Oh, well, Alfie's parents are no longer with us, but it's how can I explain? We speak of Russian a lot in this house. There is a lot of Russian speaking. All right. It's all morning, it's all evening, it's nonstop, it's throughout the day, it's muy ruski. And
Well, so I'm going to say
yeah,
your two daughters are American. They were born in
they were
America,
born
but they're
here.
bilingual, right?
They're
They speak Russian as well as they speak English.
they speak Russian, American, and yeah, you're right. They're by. They're,
So now we have Adam. So you tell us why, and we want a funny story of some dinners conversations and kind of that you kind of shared with me over the years.
Well, you've been to my house, so you understand this. You've had dinner with my family, so you are very aware that Russian is the dominant language in the house. I don't speak Russian, so for me, it creates a frustration, which is probably more funny for them than it is for me. So it's but it's yeah, but we have many conversations where I'm just sitting there going like, yeah. Yeah. And they're laughing. I'm like, and then they're going in the other room, and I'm like, you know, and, I'm like, more wine, more. And I'm like, oops, I broke the glass. Sorry. Another one. Please. And what happened the other day, I didn't even just drop the glass, I literally just threw it at the kitchen wall. And it creates a few arguments in the house that sometimes we laugh about and sometimes we don't. But it's the kids have grown up speaking Russian and English, so obviously they can speak both. Mum obviously spends a lot more time with them than I do, so they gravitate towards her more because and they speak Russian with her. Most of their friends are Russian, and the activities are Russian. So they're a lot more. Their school is American. So in England, sorry, in school they speak both, but outside of school, more of their actions are in Russian. So for me, it's stressful not understanding what's being said. It's stressful, and I don't have the time, the bandwidth. I'm working from 6 in the morning till midnight, like 5 days a week. And on the weekends, I just don't care. It's like, for me, Saturday, don't call me unless it's an emergency. If it's an emergency, why are you calling me? Call 911, right? So I'm not going to help you if you're on fire. I call the fire department. If you need an ambulance, call 911. I'm not your guy. Most of my closest friends live far away anyway. So for me, it's I start to understand more personally. I can actually I can pick up certain things. Like I can follow a conversation if I know what it's about. right? That's the interesting thing. I can do that in Spanish, I can do that in Russian, French. If I understand the context, I can follow. A few months ago, I was at a meeting and they did the whole meeting in Spanish, and I was able to follow it because I knew the context. And my Spanish isn't good, but it's good enough that I can follow. I would say my Russian is not. Understanding is not as good as my Spanish. You know, I've lived in America for 26 years, and obviously Spanish is a very big language here. But it's like I'm starting to learn a little bit because I recognize key words that if I know what they're talking about, I know if it's good or bad, right? Like they're saying like here is sure, it's good. If they're like there's a bit more venom in the tongue, I know it's not so good, right? So it's I know hands are raised, niet, nicht good, right? If I know that, so you can follow, but for me living in a mixed language house, being the only person that doesn't speak the dominant language is frustrating. And as you know, and I think you and I have talked about, it creates the occasional, I'm going to say it in proper English, it creates the occasional Barney. Barney Rubble trouble for those that you don't follow. um, so. So I'm trying to learn a little bit, but it's good. It's finding the time, and but honestly, it's a very sometimes when Alfie and I are texting, we'll text in English, but I know like when she's driving or busy, it's hard for her to read the English. So I'll Google translate it to Russian to make it easier for her to read, and we'll do this sometimes. And what's interesting is when you translate Russian to English using Google Translate, and then I'll transfer Russian back to English because sometimes the translation isn't accurate. So you want to rewrite what it is that you said to make the translation come out better, or sometimes they just add in the English word that the Russian refuses to put in. Okay, it's interesting that my wife always says that Russian it's not easy for Russians to express themselves in English because in Russian they have so many descriptive words for one thing that you can speak so much more passionately and eloquently about a certain thing or situation. And you understand that when you do the translation to and back, because you'll see the flow of the sentence, left what I was trying to say and went into a more, I'm going to say, eloquent, beautifully written phrase. And then when you transfer it back into the Russian and then back again, it's like, you're pouring the water in and out. It's see how the dialect. So I understand just through doing that Russian has so many words because it's like it just completely changes the flow of the sentence in a very different manner. And I actually think it's a beautiful language, and I really want to learn it, and to understand it because it's you're never too young to start learning. I speak a little French, I speak a little German, I speak a little Arabic, I speak a little Hebrew, I speak a tiny bit of English.
Little New Yorker.
Yeah, a little New York,
New
and
York. You gotta get the York right. New
New York
York.
officer. I was talking to this policeman in a gas station, about a year ago, and I said to him, he was wearing a Miami PD uniform, and he was on the phone, and he hanged up. I said, officer, I said, I think you're wearing the wrong uniform. He started laughing. He said, you know. And he was former NYPD and now Miami PD. So it's New Yorkers get New Yorkers. We understand each other, but Russian is a beautiful language. It's definitely the dominant language in the house, and I think it would be. I want to make the time to learn it, but that's a great question because better than like some of my friends having experienced it firsthand here.
I thought it was a great question. I knew, so I'm like, all right. And as soon as I saw I get to ask a question, that was the question. It was there was nothing else I needed to know, or I thought the audience would need to know. But I thought that was a fun opportunity to kind of get because obviously you have a very successful relationship, married for a long time to a beautiful wife. You got two beautiful kids. But just like anything else, not everything is smooth, and your unsmoothness is more of a language barrier rather than relationship shit. It is more, what did you say, or how did you say it, or why did you say that? And if you pick out words, sometimes you don't know the before and after words, and they may be giggling, and you're like, well, what was the giggle? That's
Yeah,
not a
sometimes when
giggling
I
word.
pronounce something, like for example, I could say to my wife, "У тебе красивые глаза," right? Which means you have beautiful eyes, right? And then I'll say like u tebe krasivia glaza I nogi, which is legs, and like she models, and everyone like sees pictures of her legs, and then I'll be I pit poporodok, right? Well, poporodok is chin, but I just find it so funny the word poporodok, why not just chin, right? So actually, I have learned something, right?
Yeah.
Capable of learning, all right? So that's
And
kind of
and the,
funny.
and the beauty part is you're doing it for her, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that says more about your character, the selflessness that you have to try to make her more comfortable, in that you're trying to do something for her at your very advanced age. So
Not that advanced. Thank you very much. Am I allowed to flip you off on camera? I don't
hey,
know.
I gave you a compliment. I said you're doing something because you love your wife. You're sacrificing learning,
It was a backhanded
but you're
compliment.
doing
There was
it
a
at such
backhand
an
in that. There was a
advanced
backhand
age
across
that
there. It
it was
was like
it
it was a
was a
back.
great lifting you up, but coming back, it was
Yes, there was a backhand in that one. It's the kind of thing I would do. It's all good. But sometimes she likes to like film me like saying complicated words because I'm trying to say it and we'll just both be laughing. And then she'll like film it and put it on TikTok. And I'm like, everyone's loving a laugh because they know I'm trying to say this unpronounceable word if you've never spoken Russian and it means something stupid and bizarre. And it's like, it's funny because it's like we can have a laugh with it sometimes. But the funny thing is sometimes, for example, I speak with my sister. My sister lives in Berkshire in England, and she speaks very quickly. And keep in mind, I haven't lived in England for 26, almost 27 years. So there's dialects. I think England has more dialects for a small country than America does for an enormous one. And Alfie will be like sometimes, I didn't understand what your sister just said. And I'm like, don't tell her, but neither did I. So-
in America. We are most of the tough dialect in America is typically down south.
Yeah.
In the southern states, the draws and the different words, how the pronunciation comes about. Uh,
Y'all, how y'all doing today?
we
And
add vowels, we take vowels out,
yeah,
and
Atlanta. I live in Atlanta. Not Atlanta, Atlanta. You know. So, uh,
well, this is fun.
this was great fun. I said an hour. We were over two. I said it. So, hour, actually, 11, I think we started recording at 11. We're an hour and a half, but you and I, 2 hours. So, exactly. So, that was what I expected, nothing less from Frank Torchia. I want to thank everyone for watching this. I hope everyone enjoyed it. I want to thank
I want to Frank thank.
I want to thank Frank.
Adam's a day drinker, so we just have to get through.
This is what I'm drinking today. Yes,
Yeah,
I want
yeah.
to
I can put vodka in a water bottle too and get away with it.
I want to thank.
You are married to a Russian.
Yeah, it's true. I want to thank. I want to thank Frank for joining us. This was great fun, and I really enjoyed our conversation today and our repertoire, which is we always have a great time talking, you and I. This will be posted most likely. I'm probably going to post this on Sunday, which will be May 3rd. And yes, thank you very much for joining us today. Thank you for watching at home. This has been a really enjoyable conversation. Thank you for watching my podcast and thank you for joining us and participating. This was great.